Tonight on CFTK-TV News, Ellis Ross recently spoke on some major Northwest news. The New Hazelton RCMP recently had a major drug bust, and the opposition went after the NDP for the death of a young Nanaimo woman.
Northwest BC's only television news team. We are CFTK-TV News.
Good evening, I'm Cale Maslin, and here's what's making the news in the Northwest and beyond for today. The Northwest BC Resource Benefits Alliance recently managed to accomplish a goal that they had been working on for around 10 years. The group managed to negotiate enough with the province of BC to get them to create a grant program that will distribute about $250 million to 21 local governments that covers from Haida Gwaii to Vanderhoof over a half-decade span. Sean Buitosh, the mayor of Terrace, did say in a statement that while this program was not exactly the kind of tax-sharing formula that the alliance was seeking, but he and his fellow members will not be raising a fuss over the funds they'll be getting. Buitosh has also mentioned that this kind of deal may have been completed sooner if the pandemic had further delayed it. But he was not the only one speaking on this news, as Skeena MLA Ellis Ross also talked about it when the news broke.
This is actually a good fix for what was taken away by this provincial government a few years ago. There used to be a fund called the Rural Community Fund, and that was taken away. And a lot of communities, especially up in the north, used to depend on that fund so they could actually address some of their issues in their communities. And nothing really replaced it. Well, this is a good replacement.
Ross also went on to say that the incoming funds will really help municipalities like Terrace and Prince Rupert fix their sewage and water pipes without some kind of major tax raise. A BC government official has reportedly been invited by the Kitimat-Stikine Regional District to be a part of a meeting that could be quite consequential for the district. The main topic of discussion at the meeting is whether or not Thornhill will potentially end up leaving the regional district in order to become their own independent municipality. Other parts of the discussion would seemingly include how Thornhill would be represented in a possible new form of government if the split does actually happen, potential taxation levels, as well as what services they would provide and their costs. But ultimately, it has been confirmed that however Thornhill could potentially be governed in the future, the provincial cabinet is the party that will have the final say on that subject. In a report that was recently put out on their website, the New Hazelton RCMP spoke about some recent search warrants that were executed on 3 South Hazelton properties. These searches took place back on February the 21st, and the New Hazelton police also teamed up with BC and Yukon emergency response teams, officers from neighboring detachments, as well as the police dog service. And as a result of the warrants, the combined forces discovered a loaded short barrel shotgun, a flare gun with a shotgun round in it, a handgun, a .30-06 rifle, multiple cell phones, $5,000 cash, suspected fentanyl, packaging, materials, methamphetamine, cocaine, crack cocaine, and over 400 prescription Dialud and morphine pills. There were also several people arrested on the scene who could end up facing several different charges, like drug trafficking and weapons offenses. In a recent release, it was revealed that the Kitimat Village is now going to be a part of the District of Kitimat's Way Less Waste curbside program. The purpose of the program is to take waste away from the Kitimat landfill in order to preserve the environment and make sure it can remain in operation longer. Kitimat Village's brand new participation in the Way Less Waste program was attributed to funding that was provided by Indigenous Services Canada. The districts of Kitimat's own program has diverted nearly 470,000 kilograms away from the landfill between January and November of last year. Kitimat Village residents are said to be able to learn more about their new curbside program at www.heisla.ca, where residents elsewhere in the district of Kitimat can find information about their own program at www.kitimat.ca/waylesswaste. Coming up next, backlash has occurred over a Surrey school-related decision. Welcome back. There's plenty of backlash to the BC Conservatives' pledge to get rid of portables in Surrey. If elected, the party says it will eliminate them entirely by increasing class sizes. As CTV's Yasmin Gandam reports, it's an idea teachers are calling impossible and ignorant.
360 portables are being used in schools in Surrey right now, But Conservative MLA John Rustad believes that number can be reduced to 0.
To maximize the ability for students to be able to be in schools as opposed to in portables.
Something teachers call laughable.
Nobody who is serious about what students learn and students' well-being in classrooms would even contemplate or consider increasing class sizes.
She adds recruiting teachers is becoming increasingly difficult with already poor working conditions and complex student needs.
But we are constantly losing people from the profession because it is an extremely difficult.
Teachers say evidence proves smaller class sizes improve learning outcomes. But Rustad says a small increase wouldn't affect students.
Even a 20% increase, like I say, going from 20 to 24 or 24 to 29, would have the ability to remove a tremendous number of the portables.
Province-wide, there is currently a cap of 22 students per class for grades 1 to 3, with a limit of 30 for grades 4 to 12. And teachers say even a few extra students would impact both themselves and their students.
You're making less money, longer hours, and you're teaching, right? So you have to make sure students understand. It's not just a deliver model. People think we open a textbook and that's it. This is really like engaging and trying to get kids along.
This comes after the Surrey School District approved an extended day model for 5 secondary schools in Surrey starting in the fall. But Foster says it's a Band-Aid solution and the real answer is funding.
If schools are that important, that we had to open them during a pandemic, that we had to make sure that kids could come to schools, fund them accordingly.
Yasmin Kandam, CTV News, Surrey.
The opposition hammered away at the NDP government again over the tragic death of a 23-year-old Nanaimo woman. She didn't have a family doctor for years and was misdiagnosed. Others, desperate for a GP, ended up falling victim to a hoax. CTV's Robert Buffum has more on this story.
Posters like this one have been plastered across Esquimalt since Saturday, falsely encouraging patients to send an email to the municipal hall to sign up for a family doctor at a new clinic. So far, more than 150 people have been duped, sending emails to the township.
From people desperate for family doctors, sharing personal information. It is a hoax that is unconscionable in my mind.
The mayor says it's unclear who did this or why, but the reaction speaks not only to the confusion about how to get a GP, but also frustration with being matched by the province's online Health Connect registry system.
People would respond back saying, I've been on this list for 5 years. We've had nothing. We can't get anywhere with it.
Whenever a new family doctor opens their practice, they're usually overwhelmed almost right away with people trying to get access to them.
The ongoing doctor shortage was the focus of a fiery debate in the legislature today.
Fire this health minister and get this healthcare system turned around.
The opposition raising the tragic death of a 23-year-old woman from Nanaimo, Sophia, who died in November. Her infection was misdiagnosed while waiting for a family doctor.
For 3 years, Sophia languished on the NDP's so-called Health Connect registry waiting list, waiting for a family doctor.
The government touts the 700 new family doctors it attracted to BC last year. Says it's matched 50,000 patients with doctors through its online registry, first started in 2019 and expanded province-wide last summer. But acknowledges there's still more than 200,000 people on its online waiting list alone. As for these fake posters,
real progress is being made, and I don't think the incident in Esquimalt is anything else than lousy behavior by somebody.
Lousy behavior preying on some of the nearly 1 million British Columbians still without a family doctor. Robert Buffum, CTV News, Esquimalt.
A high-profile cabinet minister who was returned to the legislature just 3 months after having her first baby is facing some online criticism for bringing her infant to work. Her colleagues and a former premier are coming to her defense. CTV's Shannon Patterson now on how the legislature has changed to make it easier for working parents.
Bowen Ma's office at the BC Legislature now doubles as a nursery for her 3-month-old daughter, Azalea.
I am so incredibly fortunate to be able to serve my community as an MLA, serve the province as a minister, and to do this kind of work with the joy of being a new mother it's really fulfilling.
But Ma's social media posts about returning to work with baby Azalea in tow have attracted some nasty comments.
The vast majority of people have been supportive, but of course there are still some, less supportive attitudes out there.
One person replied to a post about Azalea's first day in the office nursery, "For goodness sake, stay home and be a mother. This is not needed now or ever in the legislature." They also criticized Ma for breastfeeding Azalea at a ministerial event.
So I got a lot of that too. I mean, a lot of people who thought would say, look, you should be home looking after your child. It happened all the time.
In 2001, Christy Clark was the first BC cabinet minister to bring her baby to work, long before social media gave critics a platform.
Twitter has changed things a lot. I think that also though society has come a long way in accepting women in politics for sure, and accepting women with babies in politics as well. You know, I was really glad to be part of that in a small way and normalizing that for women in our legislature.
In 2019, procedural changes allowed MLAs to bring their infants inside chambers. That's baby Azalea on her mom's lap.
I don't bring her in there all of the time, but in a pinch, if she needs to be fed and I'm called in for a vote, I'm able to bring her in, and that's been extremely helpful.
We should provide support so that women can work in the legislature. That's part of being a mom is working, and she's chosen to do that.
We want to encourage more people to actually participate in politics, get involved, run for politics, but we have to create an environment so that people can do that.
Ma's message for the online haters?
You know, times are changing. Women deserve to have a choice about how they lead their lives and how they raise their families.
Shannon Patterson, CTV News.
Turning to tonight's weather, the north coast is predicted to get a chance of rain or some flurries while their low drops to -1 degree. The Terrace-Kitimat area is set to see their own chance of flurries while the low is down at -6 degrees. And the Bulkley Valley and Lakes District will deal with light snow and a low of -15 degrees. On the north coast, the upcoming week will consist of mostly clouds, then some sunny days and flurries, and maybe rain after that, while the high shifts between 4 and -1 degree. In the Terrace-Kitimat area, their week is supposed to move between flurries and sun and clouds, with their high bouncing from -5 to 1 degree. And in the Bulkley Valley and Lakes District, the week for them will have a little sun, but made up of mostly clouds and some snow otherwise, with their high going from -10 to -2 degrees. Checking out the highways now, visit Drive BC for the latest and up-to-date conditions, and as always, drive safe out there. On Highway 16, there is slippery sections, utility work, bridge maintenance, roadside brushing, and a new traffic signal being installed. Plus, the Usk Ferry is out of service and the cable car is in effect. Highway 35 and 118 have some slippery sections too. Highway 37 has slippery sections as well, while also having avalanche control work. 37A has slippery sections too. Some more slippery sections on the Nishka Highway, and the Telegraph Creek Road has slippery sections of its own. And this is what the roads were looking like this afternoon around the region from the view of the province's highway cams. Still to come, some Canadians are said to be using GoFundMe to just get by. Welcome back. And a warning, this next story is disturbing, but the family involved was insistent that the public should know what exactly is happening. Their dog got its leg caught in a trap, and it was days before anyone found her. Now they're calling for change. Here's CTV's St. John Alexander.
You're so sweet. For the first week, Pearl was depressed, and she still gets tired quickly. But overall, the Anatolian Shepherd is lucky, doing much better, adjusting to life with 3 legs. and keeping company with a kitten that apparently she adores.
You love your little kitty, huh?
On a farm about 2 hours outside Fort St. John, Pearl was a livestock guardian dog. About 3 weeks ago, she didn't come home for dinner, and that never happens.
And I was so scared that she had fallen through the ice.
The family searched everywhere, into the night on a snowmobile and snowshoes. Nothing.
I started hollering for her, and we live in a valley, so it echoes, and she howled back to me.
For days, they tried to pinpoint where those howls were coming from, not knowing that Pearl was caught in a trap. When they finally found her, there was little the vet could do. The leg had to go.
I don't cry very often, but it was heartbreaking. It was absolutely heartbreaking. I think people need to know that, there's these things are being set silently.
Laws have been changing. Some traps have been outlawed. Not all of them.
It's a bit of a dirty little secret because warning signs are not required under the legislation.
Animal rights group The Fur Bearers has been advocating for years that if you're going to set up a trap, you've got to let people know. The minister responsible seemed to suggest he's open to that idea.
If signage would help, if other measures that we could take as a province would help, we're willing to work with the municipalities, communities, animal groups to say what would be required to make this better for people.
We couldn't even think about putting her down. Like there was no way.
She's only 3 years old now. Her owners are thinking about getting Pearl a prosthetic leg. St. John Alexander, CTV News, Vancouver.
It has become one of the city's favorite places to snap a photo, whether you're a local or a tourist. And as CTV's Martin McMahon reports, one city councillor is hoping to make the Vancouver sign in Cole Harbour a permanent part of the scenery.
Whether it's a selfie or a shot with family or friends, the Vancouver sign in Cole Harbour has been a major hit with locals and tourists alike.
I think it's really cool for tourists to get a photo in front of it. It's such a beautiful spot.
I see many of my friends are actually posting it on Instagram when they're visiting. I'm actually here for the Geo conference, so I took a picture or two with it. Why not?
I actually run here quite often, grab my coffee, walk by, and I think it's a really nice sign. I think it should stay.
And now a city councillor wants this temporary sign to be permanent, similar to what people can enjoy in other Canadian cities, including Toronto and Ottawa.
Anyone who's traveled has seen these signs in other cities, and I think it's a great opportunity for Vancouverites to show the pride for our city and also encourage tourists to come and take pictures with it and promote Vancouver all over the world.
But Meisner says he's open to the sign moving to a different location and perhaps taking on a new look.
We're very supportive of the proposal from Councillor Peter Meisner on the sign. The sign is actually just outside of our office window, so we've seen the sign every day since it was installed in early December, and what we can say is it has been a gathering place for people. We can see people passing the camera on to the next group to get their selfies or their photos in front of the sign, and it's been a really positive experience.
Meisner has filed the paperwork at City Hall to bring a motion on this before Council, in the hopes people will weigh in with their perspective on where it should be set up and what it should look like. Martin McMahon, CTV News, Vancouver.
The crowdfunding platform GoFundMe says that since the start of the pandemic, more Canadians have turned to the kindness of strangers online to try and help cover the skyrocketing cost of living. CTV's Kimberly Fowler has more on this subject.
Sometimes it's a choice between food and rent and bills.
Samuel Waji lives on his own and with no help from his family is struggling to get by. In December, he set up a GoFundMe campaign asking for $5,000 to help pay for rent, food, and get out of debt.
The cheapest place I could find was here, and I live in like a closet that costs $1,300 a month.
Awaji isn't the only one turning to the crowdfunding platform for help. GoFundMe seeing a massive increase in the number of people using the platform to help cover the cost of living.
In terms of types of things that we're seeing, it's really the basic necessities which we see dominate the types of campaigns on our platform.
Between 2020 and 2023, GoFundMe reporting an increase of 274%. That's about 215,000 campaigns that mention cost of living across Canada that help raise over $480 million.
We are seeing this absolutely everywhere, and it's just evident of the hurt that people are facing.
Kimberly Fowler, CTV News.
And now we turn our attentions to the stock markets. The Canadian dollar is up 0.02 of a cent, the price of gold is up $12, oil is down 28 cents, natural gas is down 3 cents, aluminum is down $1. In Toronto, the TSX is up 119.84 points, the Venture Index is up 5.52, in New York, the Dow Jones is up 47.37, and the Nasdaq is up 144.18. Still ahead is the latest edition of the Ringside Report on the Canucks. Welcome back. It's been a rather rough stretch for the Vancouver Canucks in the second half of this month, with the team losing 5 of its last 6 games. CTV's Mark McMahon takes a look at how the team plans to find a way out of this slump. Here's the latest Ringside Report.
It has been a frustrating couple of weeks for the Canucks. Just 1 win in 6 games, most recently a defeat at the hands of Sidney Crosby's Penguins Tuesday night.
The first step to getting back to where I want to be is getting that desperation and that dedication back up. There's too often where, and I think this seeps into penalties, this seeps into tracking back, this seeps into forechecking, like all this stuff kind of can at least be partially explained by those things.
And so it's tinker time for head coach Rick Tocchet. At practice, he broke up the top defensive pairing of Captain Quinn Hughes and Philip Hronek.
You try different things. It doesn't mean it's going to be set in stone. But I think sometimes it's good to throw different things at your group.
The captain is taking the change in stride given the team's struggles and is ready to play with Noah Juulsen.
He's a great defenseman. I mean, he really is. I played with him for probably 25 games last year. And we're going to be great, and obviously I've really enjoyed playing with Phil. And the great thing about having 6 really good defensemen is that you can play with anyone.
And the boss also with a stern word for players, putting the team down a man in recent games.
Might have to start taking ice time from guys that are taking numerous penalties. That's the only really how you make players accountable. And hopefully the player understands that.
One undisputed bright spot has been the play of JT Miller, who has put in some dominant individual performances and has shown a cooler head than in past seasons.
Still get just as angry. I just feel like we're winning a lot more hockey games. And at the end of the day, that's really all that matters, and just playing in front of this crowd in the playoffs in April and May and June, and that's what everybody's working for.
The Canucks are back in action Thursday night at home against the LA Kings. Martin McMahon, CTV News, Vancouver.
The BC government has said that the lowest paid workers in the province are set to get a 65-cent pay raise later this year. The minimum wage is set to be going up to $17.40 per hour starting on June 1st. That will be up from the current rate of $16.75 an hour. The province also later stated that the 3.9% increase is consistent with BC's average rate of inflation in 2023, and the minimum wage is going to be set in law with the same formula that they've recently used from this point on. That's all of our news for now. From all of us here at CFTK-TV News, I'm Kale Maslin, and thank you for watching. We will see you next time.